Okay, let's talk about connectors, getting our ingredients into our data Domo kitchen. Now, before we start, I want to talk to you about the different methods and strategies of how we can get data into our kitchen. So, at the top here, I'm at data and I'm on this little box which says warehouse. I have connectors, file, database, federated, API. And let me talk to you about what these things are. If I click this cloud icon, these connectors, which Domo has more than 1,000 of, which is just amazing. These are our ingredients. These are basically established APIs. APIs are, it's like phone lines. It allows me to talk to another person and to get information from them, or to post, which means to push information to them. So I can either get information or post it. Okay. That's what these things are. All APIs are very different for every company. And when you usually work with APIs, you need a API key and an API doc. We do not need to know that. But what these are already is we can use a username and a password usually for most of these. They're not all the same because all APIs are different. So that's one way. A second way is a file upload. This is pretty easy. This is just a direct file that you take and you put into Domo and you're done, right? We have a database. Database means that if your company has a database on a server, you can use these things like MySQL to connect into that server. Okay. We have a federated. This is very cool. Federated. You probably might have heard of these terms like Google BigQuery, Microsoft Azure, Snowflake. These are big ones. What these are is sometimes a company will have data that they keep into an external warehouse. Imagine that it's just a warehouse. They're putting their data sets into a big warehouse in the cloud somewhere. What we can do with Domo is, instead of pulling all those ingredients into our kitchen every single time, we could say, hey, just connect to the warehouse instead, and then pull in data do we need. That's pretty cool because we don't have to import so many rows. So that's amazing. And then we have an API. Now, why is this different from connectors? Well, connectors are already established APIs that Domo has worked on. They've already made the plumbing and the connection between the different programs. If they haven't, let's say you're using a program that we don't see a connector, well, we can maybe use this API to do it. Again, if we have the API key and the API doc. But we are going to go over that way later. This is really just to give you a sense of the different strategies you can use and how Domo can help you out. Now, something I want to show you is if we click that box, we're brought here. What is this spinning thing? Well, this tells me how many rows and different data sets we have coming into Domo. So you can see this spinning thing. If I hover over, this tells me, hey, I have a web form coming in right now, and it's 1,000 rows. Okay, that's amazing. If I hover over here, oh, I have an email data set, which you're going to learn later. I also have 1,000 rows. So I can see what's happening. On the right-hand side, I get to see the different data sources that I have, the number of rows that I've brought in, all these things. That's what this is. Okay. If I go here with the 3 cookies that look like they're stacked on top of each other, here's where I can see all my data sets. What I can do if I want to, I can sort this by either the name, the last time it was run, the date it was created, all these things. You see these little parts right here, these are tags. This helps me filter things out. Let's say I had way more data sets than this, and I really wanted to move fast. And I type in the word Domo learning. Well, everything is Domo learning. Maybe that's not really going to help me out. I can hit this add filter and I could say, you know what, hit type, show me only my Google Sheet. Ah, these are all my Google Sheets. But imagine I had 1,000 of these. How do I know what I want besides typing in name and selecting the type as Google Sheet? Well, I can hit here and I can say tag. And you're going to learn this. When I do tagging, I can say, I only want to see Google Sheet. And that way I can start to just limit things down and make it faster for me to find my item, my ingredient in the grocery store. I want to be able to move really fast. So that's how I want to be able to do it. Okay. I kind of imagine that tags are like labels on items. I want to see bread flour, very different from all-purpose flour. So I can see very quickly by the color, the name, which one to pick. Okay. In addition, this split ends icon right here, these are data flows. These are basically our ETLs. Here's where we can see how we're going to put a bunch of the ingredients together, how we're going to cook it. This key, this is something super cool. What I can do here is I can click this and I can rename these different types of connections I've done. So I can call this Google Sheets. I could say save. And why is this cool? Because if I hit this wrench over here, I can say share account. So now what I can do is if I wanted to add somebody to this account, like Domo support, I hit add. If I say close, now that account can use my credentials to log in to my Google Sheets, for instance, to pull data without me having to send a password back and forth through email or Slack or anything like that. We don't want to do that. Okay. This little Hellboy icon, this is beast mode. And beast modes are essentially SQL. That's how you can create calculated columns and make new things in here. So this is going to be, we're going to go into this a lot, but this is going to be a lot of fun right here. This thing right here, data science, these are different ways that we can get into predicting data. We will do this much later. Let me go back to data. And in here, if I click these three dots, you can see we have Jupyter Workspaces, File Shared, Federated Agent Management. This is really, if you know what you're doing, Jupyter Workspace is a very common one. So this is another data science-y tool that you can connect to Domo, whatever. The whole point of this right now was to just show you the lay of the land of the different ways that we can get data into Domo, our ingredients, so that we can start cooking. Okay. So now we are going to get into it. Let's go get our ingredients.